You trying to track down that lady that was in here the other day, the one that was messing with my dog?
Yeah, well, she's trying to track you down.
Well, I would love to talk with her. She lives on 81st Street, right?
No, that's Jerry.
Really? You wouldn't happen to know what apartment he's in, would you?
Yeah, 5A.
Thanks a lot.
Before I really jump into this one, I gotta be real with you. I had something entirely different planned for this episode, but the stars just didn't quite align for that, so that's on the back burner for another day. Last Halloween we had a blast, didn't we? We talked about Ernest P. Worrell. This year, I'm gonna hold a gun to your head and film it. No pumpkins, no popular horror characters, and no silly, spooky dooky shit. This year it's mold, bad attitudes, and brutal violence as we take a trip to the gray and murky Midwest. For perhaps my favorite horror movie of all time, John McNaughton's Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. This film is based on the exploits of self-styled and very self-exaggerating Henry Lee Lucas, who upon being caught confessed to hundreds of other murders in various states across the country, which were at times hard to dispute, making his case very mysterious even years after his death, because certain names and case files would match up with his stories. In this movie, Henry is played by Michael Rooker, one of the absolute top-tier character actors in cinema history. Henry is currently in Chicago, staying with an old prison cellmate that he eventually befriended named Otis, played by the always awesome Tom Tolles, an incredible character actor in his own right, with a real penchant for playing total scuzzbags. When Otis's sister Becky, played by Tracy Arnold, comes to stay with them because she's running from her abusive ex-husband, things start to get real tense, as it's slowly revealed that Otis has incestual tendencies, among other scummy traits, and Henry deciding to bring him along on his random murder sprees. Either seeing him as like the only person that he can see trusting, or that he knows Otis won't turn him in because they're both total degenerates in their own right.
You telling me you never killed anybody before?
I ain't saying that.
Then you've killed before, right?
Well, maybe I didn't have no choice.
You didn't have no choice here neither.
This movie doesn't completely spell this out for you either, and I've always really dug that. Serial killers are unpredictable and great at seeming normal and approachable, which this movie nails insanely well. It almost feels like a documentary at times, like these aren't performances, they're just totally troubled people living in the absolute skids of Chicagoland. Hey, that's nice, Henry. How do you swing that?
Hi, are you going to the city?
Sure, hop in.
Oh, right.
Hi.
I got my fingers on it.
Michael Rooker in the feel-good film of the year, Henry. Rated R. Something else that I greatly enjoy about this film is the juxtaposition that at times feels like it's out of a rom-com, which I'm sure McNaughton intended to do. Becky has no clue that Henry and Otis go out murdering people, so to her, staying with them is an improvement over her abusive ex or her pedo father.
Otis, plug it in.
The scenes in particular of them goofing around with a camcorder, or when Becky decides to go sightseeing in the Windy City, are genuinely lighthearted. I also love scenes in movies where you're taken on a bit of a candid tour of where it was shot, especially in older movies. It's like sightseeing with a time machine. And then you're smashed directly back into reality when Henry and Otis start using the camera to make snuff tapes out of their home invasions.
What are you doing?
I want to see it again.
Hey, nothing like a couple of bros enjoying some home movies. Am I right?
You guys need any help? Otis, do you need some help, or can you do it yourself?
While I'd like to spotlight a few more things, I do think if you've never seen this movie before, it's so worth experiencing on your own. I love the raw atmosphere, the mold-ridden locations, the Midwest accents, and just that overall dreary, overcast vibe throughout. It feels very real and extremely unapologetic. While I think it's popular belief that McNaughton's film was the first to be made about Henry Lee Lucas, there was another flick filmed around the same time as Portrait of a Serial Killer called Confessions of a Serial Killer. Both films faced distribution, marketing, and censorship problems until about 1990. Henry just got much better word of mouth and marketing. I saw that shitty-ass box art for Confessions of a Serial Killer for years at the video stores, just always passing it off as some hacky slasher horror parody. But upon actually seeing it pretty recently, it's got its own awesome, sleazy, grimy vibe, and I recommend the fuck out of it. John McNaughton is such a unique director, and I can't review Henry without shouting out his weirdo sci-fi horror body-hopping flick, The Borrower, which also heavily features Tom Tolles and a really fun, crazy-ass performance from Neil Giantali, who went on to play Henry in Mask of Sanity. And something that I really enjoy bringing up is that they've both played super intimidating throwaway characters on Seinfeld. Small world, eh? Before his portrayal of Henry, which Rooker is still greatly fond of to this day, he was a theater actor in Chicago. It took some time for Henry to get distribution. In the meantime, he took on a number of smaller TV roles and eventually landed bigger roles in Mallrats, Cliffhanger, and Days of Thunder, just to name a few. But Henry was his first starring role in a feature film. And that was the Cine-Masochist Halloween Special 2023. I honestly have no idea how to wrap this one up. So here's Romcom Henry again. Happy Halloween, I guess.
Hi.
I got my fingers on it.